It's week 18 of the NFL season, and if your fantasy football championship is this weekend, don't worry, we've got you covered. I've brought in Michael Fabiano, our senior analyst at SI.com, to help you make those correct start-sit decisions, and it is a trickier one this week, Fabs. We already know that a lot of teams are going to be resting their starters, but you say we're good to go to start number 4 for Dallas.
Yeah, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys in a game they have to win to secure the NFC East and the number 2 seed, and that's what you're looking for. Teams that need to win and have something to play for to eliminate any uncertainty in terms of snaps and that kind of thing. The matchup's also really good against the Commanders. They have basically hemorrhaged points to quarterbacks from a fantasy perspective all season long, so Dak is a very good play. But Tua Tagovailoa is not. And the Dolphins, they also have something to play for. They've already made the playoffs, but they could still win the AFC East. But look at his numbers. He scored fewer than 16 fantasy points in 5 of his last 6 games. 2 of those games were single digits. He's a little bit banged up. And the Bills' defense over the last 4 weeks has allowed the second fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. So Tua is a risk.
One of the teams we know is not starting all of their starters is the San Francisco 49ers, and specifically they're not starting Christian McCaffrey because of his cap. And so you say green light to Eli Mitchell.
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell, who played very well last week in CMC's absence. Unfortunately, most fantasy managers did not get the points for that. And the Rams, also their opponent this week, are probably going to be sitting some starters as well on offense, on defense. And we're looking for volume here, Jen. So Elijah Mitchell is going to be a very nice starter as an RB2. Jordan Mason could see some burn as well. In terms of the sit-em running backs, what about Javonte Williams? Javonte's been such a disappointment this year. Fewer than 11 points in 6 of his last 7 games. I really liked him last week against the Chargers. He did not get the job done. Jaleel McLaughlin actually got the start, and he could see more burn this week. So Javonte should be on your bench if you have running back depth.
This weekend is a big one for Texas football teams, and you say you are going to fire up Nico Collins because, hey, the Texans have to win this game.
Yeah, this is a big game for Houston. Of course, that game is going to be on Saturday, so keep that in mind. Collins scored almost 16 points last week. He's got a good matchup against the Colts this week. They've allowed the 9th most fantasy points to perimeter receivers this season, and Collins beat them for over 27 fantasy points earlier in the season. So start Nico Collins. I'm sitting Terry McLaurin, though. Now, the Commanders don't have anything to play for except for to be the spoiler for our beloved Dallas Cowboys. And McLaurin is a guy who has really struggled against Dallas in his career. In fact, the Cowboys defense has held in the single digits in 4 of his last 5 games, including a game earlier this season where he had 9 points. So McLaurin, to me, is a risk in that big NFC East matchup.
Moving finally to the tight end position, the Philadelphia Eagles will be a scoreboard watching. Their game is going on at the same time as the Cowboys, and if the Cowboys lose, they have a chance to still get that number 2 seed and the NFC East title. So you say, start up Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, don't put that whole Cowboys losing thing out there, Jen. We don't want that because I am afraid, even though it's the Commanders. But yeah, Goddard had been very bad about a month ago. He had been getting into the single digits just about every single week. But the last 2 weeks, much better, over 14 points in 2 straight games. Devontae Smith is banged up, so he could see more targets in this contest. And again, as you mentioned, this is a must-win for the Eagles. So I like Goddard. I don't like Kyle Pitts. And I promise you right now, as long as Arthur Smith is the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, I'm not drafting any more Falcons. I can't do it. You know, Pitts had a good matchup last week against Chicago. He did nothing. He had 1 catch for 5 yards. He held to 4.2 points in his last game against this week opponent, the New Orleans Saints. This game somehow has fantasy implications and playoff implications, but the bottom line here is that Kyle Pitts just has not been the unicorn type of player that we projected him to be coming out of college. I would sit him this week.
There you have it, folks, your Week 18 start and sits. And for all of those team motivations, you can check out our list at SI.com. I've written up a cheat sheet there of who is motivated to win, which will help you for all your DFS and betting picks as well. And of course, never ever miss all of Michael Fabiano's start sits for every position, yes, even including kicker.